Right, hello everybody. I'm just checking my mic is working. Can you all hear me? Just a little thumbs up will do. Right, hello everybody. I'm just checking my mic is working. Can you all hear me? I'll take that as a yes because I've got my YouTube running on the other screen. So it's all good. Outstanding. Right. As we're going through this, do please let me know of any questions you have. Again, I'm going to try to make sure that I've got all sorts of bits and pieces going so I can keep track of everything. Let me just get something running over here. But good, lots of people out there. That's really good news. And I can get this one up and we are good, I think, to go. Okay. Right then, let's get going. Let's switch that banner off and we can get going. I will share my screen with you instead. And there we go, that's better. And if I now flick to the screen, then hopefully what you're going to see is UCAS Futures Day. Not yet. Okay, that's tech for you. Gotta love it. I'll just flick back into here and let's add to stream. Not that one, sorry. Stop sharing screen. We'll add share screen. We'll take an application window. This is the one I want. We're going to share that. So with any luck now, you are all looking at a big screen that says UCAS Futures Day or UCAS Focus Day even. Great. Yes, we're on. Good. So what are we doing? This is what we're going to do now. We're going to bash out the UCAS form. So hopefully you will have this up and running on one screen. On another screen, you will have the UCAS window open. Not the UCAS hub, okay? Not the UCAS hub, but the UCAS window. And that will allow you to fill this in as we go through it. Just need to make sure I can see any questions that are coming through. Great. Okay. And then after that, at 3:30, Savannah from Leicester will be online to tell us all about applying to university from the perspective of the universities. You may not be massively interested in applying to Leicester. That really doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that the Leicester outreach facility is very, very, very good. Every university is doing them, so you just need really to pick one. And of the ones I've looked at, I think the Leicester one is very, very strong. So just focus on that, and then you can always duck out and go somewhere else if you find that you need other ones to go through. So right now we're going to look at the UCAS form. And when you're applying to university, it's essentially this jigsaw of 4 things. So the first thing you have to do is to work out your course and the university that you want to go to. And then we have to work on the personal statement. Then you need to prepare potentially for tests and interviews. And of course, then we get the exam results. So what we're going to focus on today, however, are 2 things. We're going to focus on the course and the university. That's obviously later. And we're going to focus not so much on the personal statement here as on the other elements of the course, which is actually filling in that UCAS form. So hopefully all of you by this stage have got a UCAS form up and ready and good to go. So you should have registered for entry. I do apologize. Some of these slides are back from 2018, but not much really has changed since then. And so you should be okay in terms of what you are actually doing. Right. So let us then push on. So you are going to need the school buzzword, which hopefully you've all got already. That's Stoic 2021. If that hasn't worked, then you're logging into the wrong year application, Stoic 2019. So that's all. Your passport is going to be relevant for non-EU citizens, non-native speakers. You're going to need these various things. But that's probably about as much as you need. If you haven't got your passport to hand, don't worry so much about that. We can deal with that later. Now, you will all have entered, hopefully, your postal address as being Stowe School. This just keeps things that much more simple. Day pupils, you can use either the school address or your home address. I'm not really fussed massively about that. But your postal address for boarders has to be the school. Of course, your permanent address is going to be your home address. Don't use the school there. And bear in mind, if you are one of those people who is lucky enough to have more than one residency, if you give your permanent home address as somewhere like Kenya or Thailand or Zimbabwe or the United States, that will probably have consequences in terms of your fee status when it comes to the rest of the application. So just something to bear in mind for those of you who have the luxury of two homes. If your second home or if you put your permanent home as being not in the UK, that will have ramifications for your fee status down line. Email address, please do not use the school address. This will be switched off at some point. And again, if you have a personal email address, it's time to get a grown-up one. So don't have one that's silly. Have something that you don't mind people using to something you might use for a work application would be my suggestion on that. You will also all have gone through this particular process. It's rather tedious, but you can all do it, and that will really bring us into the final stages of application. Align yourself with your tutor. If your tutor's not there, if you can't find your tutor, if you don't know your tutor, don't worry about it. We can allocate you later. The critical point is that you get to the point whereby you are here, whereby you have all opened your UCAS account and you are ready to start filling in the personal details, the choices, and all of that side of things. Hopefully, we're all at this stage already. Are there any questions at this point? Do please ping them through as we are going. So any questions, just send those through on either the VLE chat or on the YouTube chat. And I will try to pick those up. I've got various different PCs running here. So hopefully I will pick up on those as we go through. One thing to note is if you lose your password, if you forget your password or you forget your login ID, I can't really do much to help you. This application is between you and UCAS. And so you need to go in and you need to reset your account. This has got very, very little to do with the school at this stage. Do please make sure you remember your login address and the password that you use. Again, few questions coming through. Yes, this is an old slide from a previous application. I thought I took in all of these out last night, but it was quite late. If you logged in using Stoic 2021, you are in the right place. Look at this. This is Stoic 2019. So don't worry so much. This is an old slide, okay? If you logged in using 2021, you're in the right place. Don't worry about that at all. So I do apologize. That's me saying something a little bit confusing there. Again, all I would say is, sorry, good grief. All I would say is remember your email and sorry. So remember your email, remember your login ID and your password, because we can reset these for you. You will need to reset these yourselves. These accounts are between you and UCAS, not us as a school. Right, enough of that. Let's get on with the main business. So you should all have got to this point. Remember your postal address, that has to be the school. If you are a boarder, if you're a day pupil, I'm not fussed either way. Your home address, again, if different from your postal address, it doesn't. If it's the same, if you're a day pupil, then obviously that doesn't really massively matter. But you need to have something in there. Home telephone number, mobile telephone number, email address. Again, nothing stupid. Something you would be happy to use for a work application. So make sure that that is kosher. Do not use your school address because you will eventually leave this place. And at that point, it's going to be hard to access your school address if somebody's emailing you through that. Yes, so, whoops, sorry, didn't want to do that. I think the rest of that is fairly self-explanatory. Again, any questions, do let me know. This area of permanent residence is important because this will have an impact on your funding status. So if you are a London resident, drill into this using this C list here. Drill into this because this is good. These are the people who are going to pay your fees. So if you are a UK student, then this needs to be filled in, as does this residential category here. Again, most of you will be UK citizens. If you're not, again, just follow the prompts as they come through. Somebody asked earlier, if you are not a UK citizen, what does this mean? This really means when you started living here. I think it's again, they're not going to be chasing you on that too hard, but this is going to be when did you basically become resident in the UK? So not if you sort of came here on a holiday when you were 2. No one's really massively interested in that. What they want to know is when you came here on a sort of permanent basis or on a semi-permanent basis for your education. I hope that's clear, but any questions I will take now. The things that people get wrong invariably at this point is that they get their postal address wrong. We want the postal address to be the school. Sorry, I got a very sensitive mouse here. Postal address for boarders being the school, and home address obviously being where you live. And everything down at this point here will be significant in terms of your funding status. But it should be fairly self-explanatory as you go through it. Good. I'm not seeing any questions popping up. So now we move on to slightly trickier area. But again, for the majority of people here, this is not necessarily going to be an issue. This only applies to those who are in the country from outside the EU as students. So anyone who requires a student visa to come here, you will have a unique learner number, and you can put that one in there. That is basically off your student visa. You will have TOEFL numbers or IELTS numbers. Those are going to be relevant if you are sitting exams in English language. If you are a citizen of the UK but not a permanent resident, then you are not a permanent resident, in which case your area of permanent residency goes in there. So that's a question from Archie. This is about where you live. So if we come back to this thing here, is your permanent home in the UK? If the answer to that is no, then that has to go in here. It doesn't matter whether you're a British citizen or not. What matters is where do you live? Where does your family pay their tax? Where has it paid their tax for the last 3 years? Because obviously that's really who's going to start paying your bills. I'm getting a few questions through on email. Please don't send me questions on email. Keep them in the chat because I can't be flicking in and out. Oh, Mike, I explained this a second ago. This is the school, okay? Just put in the postcode for the school. So the school postcode goes in there. Don't bother filling in the house number. You should have been through that, Mike. Sorry, I don't really want. So just put in there MK18 5EH. And yeah, go from there. So So again, please keep your questions through on YouTube or on the VLE, because me flicking out to answer emails is going to irritate everybody massively. Just on that, Casper, are you with us now? You were trying to get in earlier. If you are there, can you please just indicate that you are accessing this material? Okay, so pushing on then, again, this is really for foreign students. You will have hopefully access to your TOEFL numbers or your IELTS numbers, and again, your passport details and your visa details. I don't really want to go into this in too much detail right now because the vast majority of people won't be going through this, but we can go through this later as is required. Fee code, I'll be getting on to shortly. Don't think we've got to that yet. So we come on to this bit, right? Again, this is somewhere where I don't know why it seems to cause enormous problems, right? If you are a resident of the UK or the Channel Islands or the Isle of Man, or if you are in the EU, then your fee code is O2. It doesn't matter whether you're in a private school or state school or home school. The point is that you are essentially an EU student as far as the funding is concerned. Now, again, here, this is your permanent area of residency, or your area of residency in the UK, other than for being a student at Stowe School. So being a student at Stowe School, if you live in Singapore, does not qualify you for O2 status. If you live in Singapore, then you will be paying your own university fees. I will not be paying your fees. The other teachers will not be paying their fees. Nobody else will be paying your fees through our taxes. If you live in Singapore or Russia or Zimbabwe or the United States or anywhere outside the EU, then you will be required to pay for your own university tuition. If you live anywhere inside the EU, then your point here becomes O2. No, don't worry about changing this. Don't worry about the EU at this point. Just stick in O2, all right? You will still be a UK citizen. We'll worry about that bit later, okay? We have effectively left the EU, but we've normally left the EQ, but the terms of that agreement have not been settled yet. So if you live in the EU, if you live in the EU, if you live in France or Germany or any of those places, then you can still qualify for O2 status at this point. I'm assuming that not many of you have got criminal convictions, but never entirely sure. Again, just answer these questions truthfully, and you should be okay. We don't want to get massively tangled up in this, although this might be relevant for people who live in Monaco. I think that might pop up there. But this should be fairly straightforward. The university's position here is that, strange as it may seem, I am not an expert on international tax arrangements. Nobody at the school is really an expert on international tax arrangements. They do have people at university who are experts in international tax arrangements. And if you lie at this point, they will hunt you down like a dog and rinse you for all the cash they can. But we are not in a position really to do anything on that. So we will take you at your word. If there's a problem with this, it will be picked up by the universities. So we don't really need to get massively tangled up in it right now. Once again, if Casper is there, then please do let me know. Maybe he's watching this on Rewind. Almost all of you will be O2, okay? This has nothing to do with the fact that you go to a private school. This is, where do you live? Do you live in the UK, the Channel Islands, the Isle of Man, or somewhere else in the EU? If that is the case, then your fee code is O2, and that is it. Good. If you live in Russia, if you live in Singapore, Hong Kong, China, South America, North America, anywhere in Africa, then it's going to be O1, and you will be paying full fees when you go to university. Hopefully that bit's clear. Remember, you're almost all of you who live in the UK are going to, well, everyone who lives in the UK is going to be O2. The rest of you may have something else there. Okay, personal details. The last bit here, your nominated access. At some point, the universities may want to get in touch with you while you're away on your gap year and you are incapacitated in Cambodia or incommunicado in Laos. Well, the universities will still want to speak to somebody. So the question there is, who do they contact? Don't put me down. Don't put your tutor down, because I am not interested in answering questions about your whereabouts on your gap year. Your parents, on the other hand, will be interested, and they will be willing to answer questions on that. So do not put down your tutor. Do not put down your housemaster, because this is who can the university speak to if you are out of commission. Disability and special needs. Right. This is interesting in that anything you put in here will not prejudice your application. So if you are dyslexic or dyspraxic or have ADHD or any of those things, or indeed anything else, anything you put in here, any special need you have, will not compromise or weaken your application. It may, on the other hand, do one of two things. It may entitle you to special consideration in terms of the application, in terms of the university deciding whether or not to award you a place. Now, most of the adjustments will be made at the actual marking of exams, but there may be further issues that you need to tell the universities about that are pertinent to your application. I have a couple of students who are suffering terrible migraines, for instance, as a result of the online learning. The fact that everything's being switched to online probably doesn't bother most of you, but for some people it's an absolute ordeal because they can't look at screens for an extended amount of time. If that is mentioned at this point, then one of two things could possibly happen. The universities may well take that into account as they decide whether or not to award you a place. But the other thing that is very, very important is that this will help the universities allocate whatever special needs provisioning they need when we all get to university. So whatever you put in here will not weaken your application, unless your disability is that you really don't care about anything and you really don't know why you're going to university, in which case, I really wouldn't put that in there. But whatever you put in there will not weaken your application or compromise or undermine or jeopardize your application, because, of course, if that was the case, then you would fall massively foul of, then the universities would fall foul of equalities legislation, quite rightly. So be as honest as you want to be at this point. Whatever it is, you can be utterly candid and straightforward here, and you will not struggle. You will not be prejudiced. Again, a couple of questions coming through on the email. Please don't email me questions. On the VLE, there should be on the VLE. On the VLE. Sorry, I meant on Teams. You can ask me questions through Teams. Fair enough. Or on YouTube. If you're struggling to ask me questions, then get on Teams and get on YouTube. Okay, that's the best way to ask me questions. If neither of those do work, then by all means send me an email, but it's going to be easier through either YouTube or Teams. Right. Okay. Trying to register, form is playing on password and new pins. Yes. I can't help you, Jack. Password's kind of your business. Maybe you're mismatching your special characters, exclamation mark, hashtag, @sign. You should kind of know how to create a password for yourself at this point. And everybody else seems to be managing. You should have done this before we actually got to this point as well, Jack. And yeah, that's probably a good idea, Will. But bear in mind that if you do move then onto a different computer, you're going to have a hell of a job remembering that. Reference number. Oh, sorry. Reference number, that is, I think, here. This is again, if, yes, I did do this, Filippo. This is if you have any student visa details. If you're coming into the country as on a student visa, then you should have a unique learner number, which is essentially a visa, and you can put that one in there. Yeah, absolutely right, Isabella. Thank you very much, Izzy. Right, let's go on. So I think deciding on universities, this is the next bit of the, if we go back to this area here, choices. I'm going to cover a bit of that in the next presentation. But when you go in there, you will see that you have a number of options open to you. You are able to choose 5. When I was at university, the order, I've done the student support, Jolly. If you're in the UK or if you're an EU student, it is O2. If you're from outside the EU, it is O1. I hope that clears that up. What will it look like later? You're allowed to choose up to 5 universities. When I was at university, the order mattered. The order no longer matters. What that used to mean was that you couldn't apply to Oxford, Cambridge, and Durham in the same application. You can do so now, but again, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves at this point, and let's not get tangled up in that if we can. Okay, thanks, Casper. Very complicated old system we have working here, but I'm glad that everybody is able to access it. And that one, Hugo, if your buzzword is invalid, you should have done this before. Your buzzword is invalid. That means you're trying to log in to apply 2020. You are going to university in 2021, back out and start again. You need to be going through apply 2021. I've explained that, and you should have already done that, is the bottom line there. Jolly, are you happy with the student support arrangements? Okay, this is again, this bit here. If you're in the UK, if you're in the EU, then that is O2. And this is the actual local council, the local educational authority that is going to be paying your fees. So if you live in London, you need to work out exactly which LEA it is and go from there. Right, not just the URL, not just the URL actually, Griff. If you go in here in this big corner up here, there's a whopping great clue. If that says 2018, you are in, well, you're traveling through time. If it says 2020, you're in the wrong place. Right, okay. Hopefully now we are all up to speed. So you get to choose 5 universities. This is somebody who really wanted to do real estate, as you can see there. One thing I will say is that Aris, that's because Sandhurst, you don't apply through UCAS. That's something else you do entirely separately. You walk down to the Army recruiting office, you say, hello, I would like to join the Army. And trust me, they will be very, very happy to walk you through that process. As we go to choose our universities, you can see here there's a fair degree of correlation across all of these. If you are trying to study real estate here and zoology here, that's going to represent massive problems for your personal statement. You can't do it. You can't apply to read real estate at one university and zoology at a different zoology, because the personal statement will just squeeze it out, but we'll get to all that down line. What I want to get to really is this bit. Okay, now, in the past, this has been massively complicated. The good news for you is that the good news for you is that this is so much simpler than it used to be, because when I started doing this back in the day, we had a combination of GCSEs and IGCSEs and all manner of different things. Now you should all hopefully have your results statements from your tutors. Freddie, I explained the fee status. O2. No, you are not private finance. People, you are at a private school. Okay, right? When you go to university, unless you live outside the EU, right, the government is going to pay at least a portion of your fees. You are O2. If you live within the EU, even if you live in Monaco, I think you're within the bound. O2, all right? You're blimey. Well, I'd rather be doing this now than later, okay? But can I just please, you are going, anyone who lives in the EU, your fee code is O2, all right? Because the state will pay at least some portion of your fees. Right, okay. I'm sure that's not the last question I'll get on it, but let's move on. Right. We are now getting into something that causes all manner of difficulties. But again, as I said, for you, it's very, very simple. All qualifications go in through the same portal. Anything that you have done is going to count. Everyone forgets about the EPQ and Lambda and others. So hopefully now I've got my right application. Yeah. So the first thing to do, and you'll see here how we're bang up to date. We're now looking at modern data. You're all in Apply 2021. You need, first of all, to tell us what schools you've been to. And you need to identify any school at which you got qualifications. Now, for most of you, that's just going to be Stowe. But for some of you, you will have joined Stowe in the sixth form, in which case you need to create an entry or a category of entries there for your GCSEs. Yes, Harry, you can enter Lambda as I'm about to explain. Okay, so if you did exams and you got qualifications before you got to Stowe, then you need to input that school. Okay, now you'll notice here on this particular slide that this area is grayed out and the exam center is grayed out. That means that you can't type anything in there. So what you have to do is just hit that find button, and as soon as you start typing in Stowe, it will pop up. You then, that will fill in all of that. You need to have in your start dates and your ending dates. Bear in mind that pretty much everybody I'm talking to will not finish this year. You will finish next year. So that will be June, July 2021. You are full-time, okay? And you will have qualifications. You will have qualifications just below undergraduate level. Well, that shouldn't be there. Sorry, that's an old slide. Right, so you will have some just below undergraduate level. So make sure you put that in as well. Okay. And I suggest you do that before you start adding your qualifications. Do you need to enter schools at which you didn't receive any qualifications? Again, I said you need to enter any school where you received qualifications. No one's really interested in which primary school you went to. So just, I think, anywhere where you where you got qualifications, that is the critical point. Right, let me just get back into Teams. Going to go. Qualification date is the date on which those qualifications were awarded. So if it was, the date on which you sat the qualifications. So for most of you, that's going to be June or July, May or June 2019. Your pending qualifications, assuming that we do actually assuming that that school reopens, that those qualifications will be May, June 2021. If you live in Monaco and the US, well, you put in the subject of your EPQ, whatever your EPQ title is. So in terms of your EPQ, just put in as much detail as you can. If you technically live in Monaco in the US, that sounds like you're going to be O1. You're going to be paying your own finance. It's June really that you're going to finish next year. So you don't need to worry about reference numbers, Hugo, because you're from the UK. And yeah, June. Reference numbers generally are for students from overseas. So again, coming to qualifications, please do make sure that you indicate that you will have qualifications, just not undergraduate ones. And then as you go into this thing, you'll see lots of existing qualifications. You can just pick these, Matteo, only if you want to go to university. You pick whichever one of these applies to you. Some of you will be doing BTECs. If you're doing an engineering BTEC, I believe that this is the BTEC subsid diploma. If you're doing any of the other BTECs, a full BTEC effectively, then that is the Pearson BTEC Level 3 Extended Certificate. Most of you will be doing Common or Garden GCSEs and A-levels, and those go in here. Now, if you're not sure whether you are doing an IGCSE or a GCSE, the key is to look at the data sheet that your tutor sent you. If your GCSE code begins with a 4, do you have a GCSE in economics, Tom? Or are you maybe doing an A-level into economics? If your GCSE begins with a code 4, what's the exam board? It may be an IGCSE. Is it an IGCSE? Do you have an exam code for it, Tom? And what's the board? Okay, let's deal with that later because that's an interesting one. Again, if you're not sure, we'll come back to that, Tom. If you're not sure whether you did an IGCSE or a GCSE, if the exam code on your results statement is a 4, and that will be the case for history at Stowe and any English as a foreign language. I don't think we've got any more English GCSEs that are IGCSE. I think it's just history and English as an additional language. The awarding board for the EPQ is AQA. That's your extended project level 3. The awarding body is AQA, and I think, if I remember, I've got that here. So here on this slide, we've got a full list of all of your pending qualifications. So the EPQ is indeed AQA. Sorry. I'll get my phone. Don't know. Probably charge. Right. So just coming back to this, your qualifications, you need to input the ones you have, your GCSEs, your IGCSEs, your HPQ, blah, 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 and the ones you will have. Use that. And if you have a qualification, for that doesn't pop up on here, let me know when we're all done, and I'll square that circle for you. Izzy, what you just do is, if you want to enter a GCSE, have you got a GCSE 9 to 1? Have you got a GCSE A star to G? Just click on those, and it will take you into the system, and away you go. This is going to take a bit of time. I don't mind staying here and answering those questions as they come through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick look at Tom's question about GCSEs. Don't worry about the modules. GCSEs, put them down as May. Put them down as June. That's going to be easier. Tom, in the GCSE title, you may just need to go for others. You do have that option. You're right. I can't see economics there. That's weird. If you go in, if we go in A to G, does that give us economics? Yeah, there's economics in the A to G one. Okay. Hugo, I am going to find you and kill you. What do you mean? What do you put for qualifications? You input them through the system. Bella, your history, and again, anyone who did history through Stowe, okay? Let's see if I can actually share this screen with you now. This StreamYard. Let's stop sharing that one. Let's add another one. Stop sharing. And I will answer these questions. This is going to be easier to show by doing, actually. No, didn't really want that one. Okay, well, let's go in this one. I am, yes, Oscar. Yeah, okay, Tom, just use other. It's not there. Okay, so just enter that as other and you'll be okay. So here we are. Hopefully now you can see me signing in to, yep, you can see me signing in. I'm signing into 2021. Apply, there's all my stuff. Yeah, I'm going to log in here. So that's log me out. So if I go into education, remember I've got, I do have below honors degree qualification. I now want to start adding qualifications. And so in the case of Tom, Tom said, look, I went into GCSE and I'm looking for economics. He's absolutely right. It's not there. UCAS obviously got that one wrong. So we just put in there economics and we are happy. Let's just stick to June as the, yeah, so this is the month you finished the qualification. So that will be June 2019. And of course, your grade there, you said, Tom, was AQA, and the number presumably was a 9. So that's great. Don't worry about the modules. That's not necessary. If we back out of this, and somebody was asking about history, whoops, didn't want to do that. In terms of history, the critical thing about history is that history is an IGCSE. If you look at the codes that you got from your tutor, then your history begins with an begins with a 4, sorry. And so because it begins with a 4, we know that it is history. And so we go in, we put in history. Again, you sat it for the sake of argument in June of 2019. The board was CIE, I think. Yep, CIE. So if you're for your history, this is what it looks like. And then hopefully you all got big fat grade 9s. BTEC qualification, I said that on the earlier slide. The BTEC qualification is the BTEC Subsid Diploma QCF. Bella, no, if you sat Spanish, the only IGCSE, okay, the only IGCSE is history and English as a second language. If it begins with 1, and if you sat Spanish at STO, then that is EdXL. Okay, very, very simple. Only exam codes that begin with the number 4 are IGCSEs. I said earlier, the awarding board for the EPQ is AQA. Let's go. Can I go back to that slide? So the awarding board for the EPQ is AQA. And of course, your grade for your EPQ is pending because those have not been awarded yet. And this is the way in which you put in all of your A levels. So any exam that you hope to be sitting next term, that will go. So I don't know, I should be looking, not that I'm looking at that, I should be looking at this one. Your exam is pending for next year. Your exam grade is pending. Good. I think we're making some really good progress on this particular thing, people. So your history is an IGCSE. Any other questions? Look, I'm happy to sit on this slide for a bit because I'd rather get this right. I feel like I should play some music. Freddie? You still worried about the O2? When I click on education and I put details in, that's probably because it's not finished, Hugo. In which case, right, Freddie, in which case, right, again, if we go to this, all right, let's go back. You know, if you're adding a qualification, all right, and you're adding an IGCSE, you get the option of doing it 9 or numbers. So here we go, international 9 to 1. Well, it depends. So what? Right. Okay. Lots of questions coming through. Okay. Right. When we're looking at this, you can either go in IGCSE here, and this will allow you to select grades. Okay. Or you can go in and add a qualification that's number. So you get the option of adding a number or a grade. Okay, so if you have a grade, then obviously go down the IGCSE grade. If you have a number, then go down IGCSE or indeed GCSE numbers and grades. Right, Matteo. Yeah, so you know what to do there then. Okay, so that IGCSE should be a grade. So you enter it thus through the IGCSE pattern there. Barnaby, just the highest awarded, because obviously you don't get the higher ones until you've done the lower ones. Daniel, I'm not quite sure what you mean. Jack, if you'd been paying attention earlier, I explained several times over that they're not really interested in where you went to primary school. The only schools you need to put in are those where you got qualifications. Religious studies and religious studies A. I think it depends whether or not you did the short course. I would suggest you just put in religious studies. Don't worry about the A, B, and C. Nobody really cares. IGCSE probably wasn't EdXL. It will be the CIAE. EPQ is in the project section. Look for projects. Tebby, seriously, you really think they care about your common entrance? At Stowe, you are doing religious studies. We call it philosophy because it sounds better. Daniel, what did you mean about having two options for GCSE? Oscar, I can assure you they don't care about your common entrance. No, you don't need to worry about the modules. The EPQ will be awarded along with everything else next year. Don't worry about the modules. No, don't worry about the modules. So the EPQ will be awarded in June next year. 2 GCSE options for what, Daniel? Daniel, two GCSE options for what? The title of your EPQ. Right. Okay, I've actually got a good question there from Grace. If you have dual science, then that is GCSE double award. Okay, so if you have dual science, then that goes in here, combined sciences, and then you get the chance to explain what your grade was. And you can see there that you get those various options available to you. So if you're doing dual science, then that's how you enter that particular question. And I think, if I remember correctly, that what we do is the dual science trilogy. Yes, we do science dual award trilogy. Excuse me, I should have been more precise on that. Good question, Grace. Thank you very much. So this is what you should be entering for your dual science. If you did dual science, then you go down the combined science trilogy route, and note that that will give you these various options to enter there. Thank you. Okay. Questions. In that case, truncate it, Alex. Put something interesting. Do you have AS level? Well, if you have AS levels, just ignore that and bash on through. Okay, don't ignore those warnings and just put it in. That happens sometimes. That's a question from Izzy. Some of you may be coming to us with A or sitting A levels, AS levels. Then that's fine. If you're resitting exams, then you put in the grade. You put in another. Another qualification, but in those instances, you have it with a pending qualification. So pending. So the future date, and then the grade on that is pending. The same way in which you're putting in your A levels. Okay, question there from Imo about the Duke of Edinburgh. Let's have a look at this. So DOV project award. I'm not sorry. Is he? Sorry. Sorry, Imogen. That seems to be working fine with the old DOV. I'm not quite sure what the issue is there. Latin, I think it's WJEC, isn't it? Latin is WJEC. Okay, so WJEC certificate. Yeah, WJEC certificate. Absolutely right. Oh God. Right, for the subject area, your EPQ, put in the title of your EPQ. Well, I mean, what's the point of putting in extended project qualification? I think anyone knows it who's reading it is going to know what EPQ stands for. No, in the international GCSEs, if you're Luke, the international GCSE will say on the piece of paper you've got, but the chances are that if it's history, it's CAIE. Imogen, let's just check on. Oh yes, yeah. Just put gold pending. Yeah, Jesus. So put whatever you've got, and then put another one in for pending. Imogen would be my suggestion. So you've got bronze. Put that one in. You should. You would have to put in separate entries for those. So if you've got your bronze, then you just chuck that one in as a pass, and then you save that, and then you can go in and do, and then you have to create a separate entry for your second one, which would be where are we? Duke of Edinburgh. Why have I lost Duke of Edinburgh? Yeah, so you can do it. You can do it thus. Right, I got another question there somewhere. Let me just. No, you can. I've just showed you how to do it, Imogen. So what happens is when you're when you can, it thinks you've only got one, but you can go back in through the search. So you'll see here that DOV has disappeared off there. But if you go into the search facility, you can go in and add another one. Okay, so it does disappear. You're absolutely right, but you can then go in and add a second pending qualification. I will show the A-level exam boards in a second. Ancient Greek should be ancient Greek. That's the GCSE A-level. Classical Greek, I think it is. So yeah, for your Classical Greek. Yeah, go in classical Greek, I think. Don't worry about modules. Don't worry about modules. Don't do about modules. How do I put in my maths because it's IGCSE because it was a retake? Well, you just put it in as a separate thing. If you have got retakes, then just put in the higher grade. You don't need to put in any grade where you have sorry, excuse me. If you did a retake, you don't need to put in the lower grade, is what I'm trying to say. And that would have to be a separate entry if it's IGCSE. I'm not sure where you did that. Obviously not here, but that doesn't really matter. Right, had a question there from Rosie. Let's flick back and have a look at that. Where did that pop up? Your IGCSE is CAIE. CAIE. So let's just bring up then that let's go back to what I shall do now. I shall share something different with everyone. Everyone seems to be making some sort of progress on that, so that's good. Imogen, hopefully you can see how that one works, so we can come away from there. Oh God! Yes, you can put pending on the grade. No, Spanish was not IGCSE. It doesn't begin with a 4. Right, hang on a second. The questions are now coming thick and fast, so I'm going to have to back out of here. Oh, didn't want to do that. Jack? That should, Jack, in terms of Spanish higher rather than Spanish foundation, that should be evident when you go and punch it in. I don't understand why you can't put in a pending grade, Hugo. Don't worry about Marlo. Don't worry about that. Just push on through. Ignore all of those warnings. Just keep going. It will let you can just bash your way through it. So, Hugo, I don't understand what you mean by you can't enter a pending qualification. As long as the date is in the future, then you should be okay. As long as your qualification date, as Evgenia has said, is in the future, then you should be okay. Right. Oh. Add qualifications. Let's have a look at AS. Because there's somebody else who said they were having trouble with this. Film studies. So that's going to be June 21. Whatever grade that is. I don't know which one it is. Ignore that. So there we go. All right, so I seem to have done it there. I'm not quite sure how what your problem is there, Marlo. I bashed through on that one. Yes, a grade is mandatory for completed examinations, but if you haven't completed the examination, then obviously the grade is pending. Whoops, didn't want to do that. I'm not sure what exactly the issue is there, Jack. Just add Spanish. Spanish 9 to 1. Just chuck that one in. Yep. Highest level of qualification is below undergraduate. So on this is going to get below honors degree qualification. Okay, Marlo, glad to see you've got it there. I did an AQA. I'm not sure about that one, Sam. I tell you what, let's park that and we can work through that one together later, if that's okay. That's a new one to me. I'll have a look at that one. History is an IGCSE, yes. I think could it be that we are nearly there? Imogen, I hope you've been able to sort that one up. Okay. HPQ is projects. Once you complete the education section, we'll come to that in a second. People who retake maths did IGCSE. There will be an IGCS maths in there somewhere. Oh, God. Hugo, I have explained this. You go into dual award science trilogy. HPQ is projects. Previous school does not show up when trying to add a new school. Ned, you might have to put that in manually. You should be able to put it in manually. If you sort of override the autofill function, you will get in there. If that's a problem, then do please give me a shout. BTEC registration number for engineering, I genuinely don't know, because that is the UTC at Milton Keynes. We'll have to look that one up. If you can't get that one in right now, Sam, if you can't enter that without filling that in, don't worry about it. We'll come back to that and we can resolve that. Sorry, I can't give you that that data just off the top of my head. June, just put it in June 2019. It doesn't. That's not going to be material to the outcome. It's the same with the EPQ, Luke. So just put in the data when you finished, the date when you finished that, or when rather the whole thing, when the academic year finished. That's not material to the application process. Hugo, I hope you've been able to go in dual award. So again, your science is the double award, GCSE double award, and it's combined sciences trilogy. That's what you do for that. No, Freddie, the IGCSE history board is CAIE. Sorry, somebody was asking if I could put up the GCSE, the A-level boards again. Yeah, let's get that up. Where was it? Yeah, it was this one here. So if I just share this screen again with everybody. Oh, what am I trying to do? I don't want to do that. StreamYard, right. So stop sharing screen. Let's share a different screen. Application window. And we're looking for this one. Right, there we go. Right. English literature, it doesn't matter. Just go for English literature. There should be a general option there. I don't know, Jack. Whenever you're going to do it, history again is CIE. Do you have to add bad GCSEs? Well, look, they're going to ping up on your record at the end of the day, so you kind of do. I was assured by the by I think it was no, I have it down as being CAIE. We will, but if we run with CIE, then we can fix that later. Okay, I'll check with Mr. Griffin, but the last time I checked, it was CAIE. I think Pearson is the sort of family organization under which CIE operates. Because EdXL is effectively Pearson as well, but you know they're both in there with it. In terms of stuff after that, well, what I suggest we do is that what time is it now? It is it's coming up to 20 quarter to 2. You follow the instructions to delete it. What we're going to go on to, and I think we probably want a bit of a break before we do this. I want to go on to talk about various places to go. The next thing to do in terms of the UCAS, when you've finished putting in all of your data, then we can start really on your personal statement. Now, obviously, you can't really start writing your personal statement until you know where you're going to go and what you want to do. And of course, what you want to do should always precede the where you want to go. So just so you know, this is what a personal statement looks like. And that will be supported by a reference. So here, our friend here, our hero here, has written his personal statement. It is 4,000 characters. The size of the characters doesn't matter. You can't increase the size of the font. You can't decrease the size of the font. You need to come up with 4,000 characters, absolute maximum. We will then support that with a 4,000 character reference. And hopefully that is going to help you understand how this whole process works. So the personal statement, as it says there, what you're trying to show is the person reading it. You're trying to show them how you think, you know, and how you're committed to the particular subject. So you'll be making all sorts of claims in your personal statement, and then in our reference, what we're trying to do is to explain why anyone should believe any of that. So that's how the statement works. That's how the reference works. So by the end of today, we should definitely have all of our accounts opened and our details completed. By the end of the 30th, by 3:30, then we get to chat with Savannah Robinson, and then we'll be talking about places to go and making that application. And then next week, we have an application. We have a presentation from St Andrews University, who will explain something of the ins and outs of applying to Scottish universities, and perhaps, you know, more tougher, or those universities that are tougher to get into. So there we go. In terms of which board we use for the drums, I don't know. You'll have to ask the music department about that. Okay. Yes, Hugo. It's Combined Science Trilogy. Yes. Right. It's always later than you think. You're thinking I've got lots of time to do this, but you never quite know what's coming up. So watch out for that. With lots of resources out there in terms of UCAS, in terms of the VLE. Also on here, of course, you have the Ask a Stoic facility, which is not linked up here, but I've certainly sent it to you in the past. Lots and lots of stuff. I will link off to that in due course. Oh, you're back on the A level. I don't know off the top of my head, but if you ask Mr. Esterick, he will certainly be able to tell you which A level board we are doing for math, for art. Sorry, I hadn't realized we'd switched back onto the A level. Right. There's so much more I want to talk to you about making choices, but I think that we're all going to benefit, I think, from a bit of a break. So what I suggest we do is that you all go off and you continue working on that particular application. If you've got any questions, I'm going to be sitting here. I'm going to go and get myself a glass of water, and I will answer any questions that you've got. Hopefully we can get all of this done there and then. Good. So that was a very useful exercise. I hope that you've all been able to make some real headway with your applications. We will come back in, pick up any errors as we go through, obviously, and help you with your choices of universities as we go through. I would begin your personal statement as soon as you have an idea of what you want to study. So sooner rather than later. And again, lots of guidance on that on the VLE. Lots of guidance on online anywhere you choose to look. But do speak to your tutors, do speak to me, and we will take it on. I do want to go on and talk about places to go, but I think that everybody would benefit from a bit of a break. So what I'm going to do is I am going to keep this stream running. I'm going to take myself off for a bit of a lie down, and I'm going to come back. No, I'm not, because we've only got half an hour before Savannah gets here. So what we'll do is we'll bring this to an end at this point. I will link off to all of the resources we've got, and I'll send those through to you. That's about it, really. Great. So the way I see it, we've got about 66 odd people watching now. Could have done with more of that. Maybe we've got more on Teams. But I fear that that's going to be a bit on the loose side. Let's go to this event here. 18 on Teams. Great. Okay. Let's draw this to a conclusion. Thanks for all your questions. I hope that's helped. And yeah, we'll see you all at a later stage. I'm still here, so if you want to speak to me in a bit, then we can. I'll open a channel on Teams, and we can talk there for a few minutes. All right. Thank you, everybody, and see you all very, very soon. Bye now.